Christ Center presents Let's Talk About Love, a program focusing on romantic and family relationships. Our church is located at 1615 West Shelton Avenue in the heart of West Oak Lane in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania 19126. Our phone number, 215-LIVRITE, Live Right. Our teacher is pastor and counselor and 8-time author, Dr. David R.L. Stevens. This is a listener-supported program. All donations should be made out to Christ Center Church of God and Mark Radio. And now, here is our teacher, Dr. Stevens.
Well, hello again. I'm Dr. David Stevens, your radio host. This is called Let's Talk About Love. And it's all about marriage and relationships, and I'd love for you to correspond with me. Our email address is ccenter22cog@gmail.com. Let me give that to you again. ccenter22cog@gmail.com. If you have questions or if you have comments or just take the time, write me, drop me a line, and we'll get back to you. Perhaps if you say something that it needs airing on the radio broadcast, we can do that too. So don't hesitate to get in touch with me. This is radio's fastest 15 minutes, and you'll see why I say that in a few minutes from now. Okay, our topic is Show Me the Money. Show Me the Money, Part 2. This may surprise you, but I don't feel that every penny a married working woman makes must go back into the family budget. She should certainly contribute in a meaningful way, but it is not a wrong thing for her to save and spend a portion of her money on herself. Let's look again at the Proverbs 31 woman. She gets to decide just how she wants to distribute her personal funds. This wonderful lady in verse 16 buys some real estate with the money she has earned. In verse 22, she has the liberty to decorate the walls of her dwelling. She decorates with tapestry. Now, you know that's very costly. In verses 21 and 27, she shows great concern for the welfare of her family, seeing to it that they are well clothed. She has the financial freedom also, in verse 22, to buy and clothe herself in expensive silks and purple fabrics. She even takes the time to look after the needs of her politically active husband in verse 11. Also found in verse 12 and 23. She dresses him for success in front of the other town leaders. All of this seems to be left to her choice. She has control of her own money. Each family is unique. They must work out their financial affairs in accordance with the spirit structure of that family. What for one family may not work for another family. I believe that through prayer, God will lead those who call on Him. But I feel that this passage of Scripture in Proverbs 31, 10 through 31, gives a pretty good general outline for money management success. We generally think that women under the Old Testament tradition were not really very free socially. Not until the encounter with Jesus and the Samaritan woman at the well was public tradition changed. In large measure, this is probably true, socially speaking. However, remember that the description of the Proverbs 31 woman is found in the Old Testament. The way her life was laid out in this passage shows a certain degree of financial independence. It may not have been an in-your-face public thing, but it was clearly there. Another possibility, Old Testament example of financial independence is when Abigail disregarded the foolish orders of her drunken husband that would have exposed her whole household to an early death. She made decisions that went against the grain. Nabal, her husband, said he was not giving up any of his provisions to General David's men. Now, David's army, while staying in the mountains above, prevented the neighboring bandits and hoodlums from pouncing on the local folk. For Nabal to pretend that he did not know David and his army and to ignore that he prospered because of their protection was an insult. and a serious error. Abigail was not at home when these young men came asking for food. Nabal's sharp refusal was a death sentence. It did not matter to him in his drunken stupor. When Abigail came home and learned about the situation, she quickly took over and did what was necessary. She gave generously out of their provisions. I'm not sure that this came from her personal monies, and probably not, but it did not really matter. She took over the reins and saved the family from death. We stated emphatically in our first book, Marriage, the Corridors, Castles, and Conflicts, that even though the man is the God-appointed leader or head of the family, he can place himself in a dysfunctional position if he continues a pattern of bad decisions and faulty judgments. He may disavow his leadership. Being family head should not be a license to expose a family to danger or constant jeopardy. Notice, however, I am talking about a pattern, not a here or there thing, something that is really a pattern. The mention of Abigail's financial takeover brings us to another point. Who should handle the financial management for the family? Should we adopt an old sentiment that the man should be in charge? Well, I've known some men who could not figure their way out of an open door. Paying bills, balancing checkbooks, and other money decisions are not their gift. My stock answer has always been whoever is better at it should do it. It is not a gender thing, but if the woman is the bill payer and account keeper, the man must be responsible as her covering. Do not leave your wife with a total responsibility of the finances. Many women are very good at doing the distribution and accounting part of it, but need to be able to share what the picture looks like. Men usually can bring a different perspective to the picture without a lot of worry that many women go through. Men just worry differently. God made us that way. You have to know that men do worry, but we don't always show it the way that a woman would show it. That doesn't make us superior. That just makes us built for certain things, and our wives are not built for certain things. So men, my advice to you is don't put all of your financial burden on your wife and expect her to bail you out or bail the family out of the predicament. You are the head of the home. You must provide. You must get in there and fight for freedom for your family. If your wife is a better administrator, as I said before, that's well and good. That's fine. That's a plus for your family. But don't do it to her detriment. Because generally speaking, most women will worry about something and it will weaken the fabric. So men, with all of those great muscles and all of those great things that you feel like you have, put them to use. Be a protector of your family. You must be sober in your thoughts, in your mind. Don't be like Nabal, who was in a drunken stupor, and he decided that even though David and his men had protected them, that because he was able to say yes or no, he decided that he was going to say no. Well, the dude was so drunk and so out of it that he almost caused damnation to his family. When the word got back to David, he was mad. He was so mad, he was so angry that he decided he was going to strap on his own sword and go and slaughter. Generally speaking, the general is the person who will stand up and stand off at the distance and point and direct his men or his army to do this, that, or the other. But David really took it personally. He was really salty. He said that he would not leave one man standing. So actually, she saved the life of not only her family, not only Nabal, but she saved the life of the servants as well, because David was going to commit a slaughter, an unfathomable slaughter in the Nabal family. So we thank God that Abigail stood up and she did what was right. She did what was pleasing, and so she saved the day. When we talk about family finances, we have to consider that it is the finances of the family, and so we have to be careful that we don't put the load on one person, and especially not the wife. But listen, I believe that the best way is for the couple to sit down and have full disclosure of what is going on. If not, then you're kind of not utilizing the strength of your team. I'm sure that you realize that there are many folks who break up over finances. It's not a lightweight matter. In fact, we took a survey a number of years ago, and we found out that it was one of the highest factors causing problems in marital relationships. It was one of the top 3 factors. So it is something that we should pay attention to. Well, I'm going to stop at this point with that particular part of it, and let's talk generally about some things. I'm interested in you getting a copy of my latest book called Falling Back in Love, because we understand that there are some folks who have gone into a marriage relationship and it was all lovely at first and romantic, and just the angels from heaven were thought to be flying over, and then the marital relationship fell into a demise. And so I've put together a book that I think would be of great help to you if you're in that situation, or if you want to avoid getting into that situation. It's called Falling Back in Love, and you can find that book and also a number of my other books on the site called davidstevensbooks.com. That's davidstevensbooks.com. Or you can go to Amazon and get copies of books, put my name in, and most of them are on the subject of marriage. And also, if you want a quick response, you can write to us, Christ Center, Church of God, 1615-19 West Shelton Avenue, right in the heart of West Oak Lane. And that zip code is 19126. Also, you could contact us, as I started off the program saying this morning, you can contact us by email. And that number is, address is ccenter22cog.com. That's ccenter22cog@gmail.com. That's another way that you can get in touch with us, or you can just make a phone call, 215-548-7483. Or if you just want to remember it and you don't have a pencil to write it down, that comes out to 215-LIVRITE, Live Right. Okay, and if you contact my secretary, for whatever reason, she'll put you in touch with me, and we'll be able to, I'm sure, satisfy the need. Okay, so this is Dr. David Stevens saying so long for this time, and hope that we'll be able to get together next week at 9:15 on this station. So long.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Let's Talk About Love. This program has been presented by Christ Center Church of God, 1615-19 West Shelton Avenue in the heart of the West Oak Lane section of Philadelphia. Our speaker has been Dr. David Stevens, pastor, counselor, and award-winning author. This radio program is listener-sponsored, and we do solicit your prayers and donations. See you next time on Let's Talk About Love.